Hey everyone, welcome back to Great Sports Debates. Today we're going into week 6 of the power rankings. If you think about that, we're almost halfway through the season. So this is where things usually start getting really good and we start figuring out what teams are really about. So starting at the bottom of the list is the New England Patriots. The offense is going to struggle. They run first, but there's just no explosive plays in the offense. I get the argument that Drake may, maybe lose his confidence or gets killed behind this offensive line. But we already knew from the beginning of this year, this team was not going to be good. And I understand if they want the kid to earn it, but he was a first-round pick, and it might be prudent to get this guy some reps at some point. What else are you playing for this season? At 31 is the Cleveland Browns. And when we talk about inept teams, this is another one. Now, I've had a hard time keeping them from the very bottom of the list, despite looking like the worst team in the league. And a big part of that is I just really expect more from Cleveland's defense. But the offense is so bad that this team is not going to be able to win very many games. It sounds like Cleveland's still resistant to looking at the change of Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Now, if you remember the pod over the offseason when I gave you some season-long bets, which, by the way, if you took all of them, you're doing great. We might miss on one or two of them, but we probably knocked 20 of them out of the park, plus all the ones that we put big money on. Two of those bets were quarterback under yardage bets. One was Bryce Young, who's already been removed, and that's going to be a lock. And the other one was Deshaun Watson. He probably doesn't hit the number even if he plays all 17 games. But the way he's playing, he should be benched sometime in the near future. At 30 is Miami. They're kind of like Vegas. I don't really understand how they got 2 wins, but they got 2 wins. They probably had about as soft as an opening schedule as you can expect, and they still just don't look good. We talked about it in the offseason. They made a lot of downgrades in free agency. I'm not going to say it's the current regime's fault because they were in salary cap hell, but you get there for a reason, bad management at some point. So whether that's the current group's issue or not, the team got weaker in the offseason. Then they got hit by injuries that they weren't really deep enough to handle, and the team just looks bad. If I were the Dolphins, I would go the route of the Patriots, try to run the ball and play good defense, but you really got to get Tyreek Hill involved. And I know Dolphins fans don't like the idea of trading Tyreek Hill, but how long does he have on his contract? Why not get some value for him now? This team looks more like it's going to be a rebuild than retool for the playoffs. Just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And rounding out the Tier 6 bottom basement teams is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are not really good anywhere. They did make a good pick, and anytime you can secure good young offensive linemen, that's a haul. I think the Chargers signing Harbaugh had a lot to do with Tennessee missing out on getting Joe Alt, but they still were able to get a top tackle and hopefully someone that turns into a productive player on a line that needs help. They downgraded at a lot of positions. Their key playmakers like Hopkins are older. Will Levis looks like he's not the guy. I think he has the physical tools, but he would have to fix his consistency and decision making by a lot for that to work out for him long term, and I don't know if that's going to happen. So at 28, we have a team that you probably could have in the bottom tier, but we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They have 2 wins somehow, and that's the Las Vegas Raiders. This team is not good at quarterback. This team is not the greatest offensive line, and they haven't been playing their 2 best players in Max Crosby and Adams. So if you consider those guys continuing not to play, maybe the rankings even lower. I don't know. I do like the coaching. However, I mean, this is a results business. And I think the way the Raiders have played, Pierce probably doesn't have long to go. There's not really a lot of bright spots with the Raiders. I wasn't a fan of the first round pick of a tight end, especially when you have more immediate needs. I get that there was a quarterback and offensive line run, probably spots you needed the most help, but there were still really good offensive tackles available. So the pick for tight end, although Bowers looks like he's going to be pretty good, probably more of a luxury pick for a better team. At 27, we got the Carolina Panthers. Like we said, it looks like they figured it out a little bit on offense with Andy Dalton, but the defense is still sorry. We don't expect a whole lot from the Panthers. I don't really think they have a lot of upside either. So that's the problem. I understand giving up a ton of assets trying to hit a home run at quarterback, but if you miss, it really sets your franchise back. At 26 is the Colts. This is probably too low. They got a strong offensive line. I feel like if this team just handed the ball off more and were a run-first team more often, they'd probably have better results. But as we warned was possible, they lost to Jacksonville last week, and we're not letting that slide. Speaking of, at 25 is Jacksonville. They finally got the win, but the better news for Jacksonville fans is they've just looked better the last 2 weeks in general. Trevor Lawrence is going on another run. I don't know if he'll ever be consistent enough to be the top quarterback that they hope he is and that they already paid him to be. But this is a team that on paper you expect to at least be middle of the road, and they haven't been that so far. I don't know if it's the coach's fault, but the coach is likely going to be the one that gets blamed. At 24 is the New York Giants. They are 2-3 and probably deserving of a little more love. Call it history, but I don't trust Daniel Jones, and I don't know how improved that offensive line is because, frankly, it's a team that's really hard to watch play. Thibodeau is playing okay, but probably not the player they were expecting or hoping for. And the one bright spot for the Giants is Neighbors definitely looks like he's a keeper. Plus the division they play in is kind of soft, so anything goes there. They dropped the one to the Cowboys, so that's not good for them. We got the Giants at 24, but if Daniel Jones gets on a little bit of a heater, they could definitely rise through the rankings. Okay, interesting sports debate we had with our members today. Number 23 is Cincinnati Bengals, and the chat was, a lot of people were saying that Cincinnati to make the playoffs was overvalued, or the number wasn't right, or whatever term you want to make. Essentially saying that the odds should pay more than plus 140 to make the playoffs. Which, of course, my response is, if you think the number's so bad the other way, why not look at Cincinnati not to make the playoffs? And it's pretty funny that a lot of people are still scared of the Bengals, despite being 1-4. They're only it's minus 160. Or maybe I got that backward. But either way, one of them's minus 160 and one's plus 140 for a team that's 1-4. That says a lot about the Bengals' track record, the faith people have in the Bengals. If it was me, I would probably be betting them not to make the playoffs. I think there's too many good teams in the AFC. I think their division, despite the bad record, is still pretty tough. I mean, Cleveland's probably 2 wins, but they already lost to the Ravens once and got them again. And they also have to deal with a pretty tough schedule going forward. So, when you start 1-4, you think probably 10-7 is the minimum to get in. That means you got to go 9-3 the rest of the way. So that might be one. I told the guys, let's do some homework. Let's look at the schedule and let's pick records of where we think Cincinnati's going to be at there. So members will likely have a bet on that coming soon. But the Bengals offense looks good. Joe Burrow's been killing it after his annual slow start. It's just the defense has been getting shredded. And it didn't really look that horrible. Like when I watched the Baltimore game, they had such a strong run defense, stopping Derrick Henry early. I felt like the Ravens gave up on that a little too early. And then sure enough, once overtime hit, Henry finally broke one and the Ravens won the game. At 22 is the Rams. I know some places like BetQL had them 30th and they're done and put a fork in them. This team's still competing. I know they got everyone injured, but they still have Matt Stafford. And there's no way that I'd have them below any of the teams. I mean, maybe you could say Cincinnati or somebody else, but you always have a chance when you have Matt Stafford. I think people forget how good this dude still is to this day. Let me know if you disagree in the comments section. But the Rams are definitely a team that can upset somebody any Sunday against any team. 21 is the Jets. And maybe they should be lower, but they are 2-3, and they have a great defense. But the coach killer strikes again. Let me know what you think, but let's look at the evidence. Mike McCarthy sacked mid-season due to Aaron Rodgers pouting. LaFleur was an idiot, and he had to change everything Aaron Rodgers' antiquated way, which a lot of people don't think works anymore. But now LaFleur, he's gone, and LaFleur's a genius, and Green Bay's doing well. And now Robert Saleh is out as well. We have to look at the facts. The Jets don't use a lot of motion. They don't do anything creative. They're a very predictable offense. It's the way Aaron wants it. And Aaron has to make exact strikes and have wide receivers in sync for it to work. And he needs time that he's probably not going to get between the struggles of the offensive line and his lack of mobility at this point. Aaron Rodgers might be done. This might be his last good season. So keep an eye out for that. At 20 is the Denver Broncos. They've won 3 in a row. I'm probably, if I was a Denver fan, I'd be like, dude, this guy's been hating on Denver all season. Yeah, I am. The team wins ugly. I don't have confidence in Bo Nix. And he's just going to have to prove it to me. So I could be wrong, but I got Denver at 20. Most people probably have them higher, and rightfully so. And Patrick Surtain once again showed why you don't challenge him and why he is the top cornerback in the league. At 19 is the Chargers. I feel like I just haven't seen them for a while, and they're just kind of blah offensively. And I know they gave up a lot of pieces, but, Justin Herbert isn't that guy like a Pat Mahomes or a Josh Allen, in my opinion, that can just elevate anybody. And the offense looks that way. The offense, everything looks like a struggle. I mean, it's not Pittsburgh Steelers bad, but it's really not that good. And their defense is keeping them in games. And that's a tough way to survive in today's NFL, where everything is stacked to the offense's advantage. I don't expect the Chargers to do too much. They're 2-2. The division is pretty soft outside of Kansas City, but some people would probably argue maybe Denver's the number 2 team in the AFC West. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. At 18 is Arizona, and they can score with anybody. Kyler Murray is having his best season. We always knew he is electric with his speed and with his feet, and he's making some great throws. And the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. helps. And I think they're going to look at that again in the draft or free agency this year. Another weapon. And maybe that offense gets scary at that point. But for right now, we got them at 18. Okay, this team really kicking the junk this weekend. Really disappointing. If you remember our 2 gold star hits, we both won. The Minnesota -2, Washington -3. 2 silver picks, we had Baltimore escape with the win at -2.5. And then we had the Pittsburgh Steelers, only -1.5. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys were missing everybody. Like, all their edge players, and everyone's out for them. And they still couldn't pull it off. So, for all you people that said I was sleeping on Justin Fields, I haven't heard anything from y'all in the last 2 weeks. So, I'm throwing that out there. Pittsburgh's offense is terrible to watch. You count on the defense to win games. I mean, Watt had a strip sack, and they had an interception or 2. the offense has to do something for them to win the game. I mean, what more do they have to do for Pittsburgh? So I feel bad for the defense. And TJ Watt keeps talking about Super Bowls. Bro, you're going to have to go to another team because this isn't it. At 16, and anytime I start to give this team a little bit of credit, I feel like I get proven wrong. But like I've told you guys all season, I like Caleb Williams. We got to give him a fair shot. The dude looks better every week despite running for his life and being under a lot of pressure. It looks like they found some creative ways with running and max protecting to give him a little more time. And he's shown he can be a pretty good quarterback when he has some time. So Chicago's a team to watch. The problem for them is, like we told you in the offseason, they are in, hands down, the toughest division, the NFC North. At 15 is the Seattle Seahawks. And this is probably too high because they had a really easy schedule, which we kind of warned against early. And now they've got beaten down twice in a row. And this last one was to the Giants. So, again, 15 is probably too high. But they are 3-2. And they do play in the NFC West. And they do have some weapons that we do trust. 14 is the Dallas Cowboys. I can't figure this team out. Can't figure them out. We know they can throw the ball. We know they throw the ball because they can't run the ball. But they did a decent job running the ball against Pittsburgh last week, which should be an encouraging sign. They've shored up the run defense the last 2 weeks. I don't know if that is because their edge players are out or because they're doing something different against the run. I still don't trust the Cowboys a whole lot. We saw Dak try to give that game away, despite what his fans will say. But they did beat Pittsburgh, and it is a win, and they are 3-2. They definitely have a shot in the NFC least. At 13's Philly. Again, this is a team that should be better. Just run the ball. All you have to do is turn around, hand the ball to Barkley, and your team is going to be in a good position. You got to do that. And the guys that you invested to, these defensive tackles that everyone keeps telling me how great Jalen Carter is, and Jordan Davis, we know, is a huge athletic human. Good. Stop the inside run game. And if Philly can figure out those things, they get A.J. Brown back, and of course they're going to need Lane Johnson back to run the ball. I think that they could slide back in the top 10 quite easily. And they could be the dark horse. I think they probably are still the betting favorite to win the division. At 12 is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has proven to be a good team. Baker is good enough to get it done when he has everything going right for him. They need to be able to run the ball a bit better than they are currently. And their run defense is good. They just have to figure out getting pressure on the quarterback and playing the pass a little better. They are in like a three-way fight in what looks like it's going to be pretty competitive between them and the Saints and Atlanta. Okay, at number 11 is the New Orleans Saints. They're 2-3. They were not impressive at all against Kansas City. And I had these rankings kind of figured out before the game. So Saints probably should be a little bit lower. I really like Alvin Kamara, but he didn't really get a lot of opportunities, and he didn't show when he did against the Chiefs, which is kind of the scary part. Against the tougher teams, they don't show up. They don't have enough explosive plays. Saints are just a tricky team. Like I said, Derek Carr, when he gets off to a good start and he's rolling, they're tough. When he gets frustrated, like he did in the Chiefs game early, it's kind of a hard go for them. At number 10 is the Green Bay Packers. Now I know the Packers are 3-2, but they have a strong offensive line. They're able to run the ball. And if Jordan Love can do anything like he did in the second half season, they're actually going to rise from this position. They got a defense that's good enough to generate a rush, and the back four is like top tier. Their safeties, and between McKinney, which is probably the non-quarterback free agent signing of the offseason, and a lot of people expected that, but I think he's even exceeded those expectations. So Green Bay is a team to be reckoned with. I think the problem for them is they're in a division with two teams that I just think are a little bit better. At number 9, again, I think I got this one a little too high. Maybe should slide down a couple of spots. I think I got all 3 of these NFC South teams a little too high. But Atlanta's 3-2, and Kirk Cousins has found a way to win every single close game, and he's looking better every week. Again, the disappointment with Atlanta has been their running. The idea was Cousins was going to come in and be a major upgrade over guys who probably aren't NFL quarterbacks that they had playing last year, and they already were able to run the ball. But they're not running the ball as well as they did last year. That's a big problem. And the offensive line isn't quite providing the same protection either. So if they can figure that out, Atlanta could be a playoff team for sure. At 8 is Buffalo, and I don't really know where to go here with Buffalo. The defense has been exposed a couple times, and that puts a lot on Josh Allen. If this team gets down early, it's hard when he has to throw every play and people know it. They're kind of better to, like most teams when you can, run the ball, mix in the pass, and of course Josh Allen's always dangerous with his feet. So I think Buffalo's a team that could beat anyone. They just need to get all the right pieces going and get a little more consistent if they want to be one of these top tier teams. I think the division they are in is going to help them for sure. All right, I think a lot of people are going to disagree with this one. I know the 49ers are 2-3, but I got them at number 7. I just think that they are too good, and they've been missing a lot of pieces. I mean, CMC hasn't played, and you have all these rotating things around because of all the guys they have missing. But look, at the end of the day, the offensive line has to play better for the 49ers, and the defense cannot collapse in games that they're winning. I don't know. They with the money they have invested in that defensive line, there should be a little bit more of a rush. So that is probably the biggest problem in my opinion. And the offensive line is not playing as well as they did last year. All right, I know this one's going to be another big surprise, but not only have they proven it on the field, we've been telling you guys for the last couple of weeks, this is the undervalued team this year right now. And I don't know how long it's going to last, but we told you Washington was one of our 2 lead pipe. 3 points, and they're playing Cleveland that can't even score in 7-on-7 drill. And you got Jaden Daniels, who hasn't played as electric as he was when he was literally setting records. But the guy can pass the ball and he can run, and that's always going to be a problem in this league. So, and he's got weapons that people forget about, like Scary Terry, and their running back has proven he can run and catch the ball. And if the offensive line just continues to improve and they play a little bit better, this could be a really explosive offense. All right, we're getting into the big dogs now. Top 5, we got the Houston Texans. They still haven't played quite to the potential that I expect for them. And I know with their top wide receiver out, that could drastically change how this team plays. But just looking at them full strength, I got them at the 5 spot. CJ is the real deal, like we said, are able to run the ball. I don't understand all the offensive line penalties, especially Tunsil, who gets paid so much money, and he can dominate, but sometimes he makes bad mistakes, and this dude gets way too many false starts. That's a little bit concerning. They don't have quite the pass rush I was expecting with the new guys they brought in. So if they can shore those things up, they could be a top team. At number 4 is the Detroit Lions. They have so many options on offense that sometimes they overthink it and mess it up. Again, like most teams that can run the ball, they should do that first. And when they get the run going, they're really tough to stop on offense. The problem is the defense is not good at stopping teams, and they got a couple of playmakers like Kirby Joseph that can get an interception, change the game, or Aiden Hutchinson that can get a sack and stop a drive. But the defense definitely has to play better if they want to beat top teams consistently. I know a lot of people don't agree here, but like we said, since Baltimore was 0-2, we've never dropped them out from the top teams because we know that they are a top team. As long as Lamar Jackson is standing, they are a top team. if you watch that game, how they came back against Cincinnati, defense is not playing as well as expected. Sometimes when you lose pieces, you have a linebacker go here, somebody go there, and you just always expect the Ravens to just fix it next man up. And the defense is not playing to that level so far at this point. But one thing that Harbaugh needs to remember, maybe he needs to talk to his brother, run the ball. You have one of the best running backs in the league. Give that guy a chance to get something going. And so far, Derrick Henry has showed up every time they've given him an opportunity to run the ball. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Give Henry the ball. He's pretty good. All right, number 2 is Minnesota Vikings. They're undefeated. They didn't look as good this week as they've looked in other weeks, but they got Justin Jefferson, so that's the main part. And that's a security blanket for Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold's getting a lot of time to throw the ball. He may, he's making some mistakes and making some misses, but not too many. I think as long as they can keep him upright and clean, it's nice that he has that security blanket in JJ, and he's going to be all right. The bigger concern is their injury at running back. So if he's good to go, I think they continue to roll. But what's really the biggest thing about the Vikings, and what we talked about in our offseason pod, is the defense. And the defense is able to get pressure. The big showdown, a great game in 2 weeks, is going to tell us a lot when the Vikings play the Lions. That matchup, their pass rush versus the Lions offensive line, is going to tell a lot about who is the real serious contender coming out of the NFC North. And then at number 1, every week except one, we kind of got off our meds a little bit, Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes just shows you every week he doesn't need the gaudy passing stats. He can run, he can buy time, he can pick up first downs with his leg, and we know he can get it down the field at crazy arm angles. Him and Kelsey have an incredible connection, and no matter who's out and who switches wide receiver, running back, wherever, they get it done on offense. And like we've said before, they got playmakers all over that defense. So Kansas City, not saying they're unbeatable, but they're clearly the top team, in my opinion. So that's the power rankings we have for this upcoming week. We'll try to get some of our picks out tomorrow, Thursday at the latest. But that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Drop a like if you appreciate the content so we can continue to create it. And as always, thanks for watching.